All right, we're going to be talking about MIDI recording basics. To begin, we're going to go to Pro Tools, File, Create New, or if you open Pro Tools, your dialog dashboard would have already started. We want to make sure that we go to local storage, we deactivate any template, we want to have a blank session. This is going to be MIDI recording examples, and switch to a sample rate of 44.1 at 32 bits. I am going to select interleaved for my session and then make sure it says prompt for location and hit create. Should ask me where I want this. Because I'm doing this for the second time, I'm going to save it here in my folder, but I'm going to call it version 2 and it should get us to this. From here, you're either going to go to track, new, or you can select Command, Shift, and the letter N to break out a brand new session or brand new track. And so Command, Shift, N. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Stereo, Instrument Track. And for this one, I'm just going to name this Synth and hit create. Once this is set up, I can record enable it, and as long as my MIDI controller is attached, I should have MIDI being routed to my device. So if I play my keyboard now, I should be having this input make it all the way in, as long as my input is set to all. And you might have to change your view here to say, at the very top, to say instrument so you can see it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up this view to say inserts A through E, and we're going to go ahead and choose some sort of virtual instrument. For this example, I'm going to choose vacuum. All right. Sounds like our vacuum is great and ready to set up. So there are two specific ways that we can record in Pro Tools using MIDI. One of those is using something called Midi Merge. And if we go to Window, Transport, we'll see some of our MIDI controls available for us here. But the most important, the one that we're discussing, is this Midi Merge option right here. What this will do is, as I record something, I will be layering on top of it. So I'm going to real quickly go track, create click track. So I have a click track engaged. I'm going to hit Command equals to switch over to my click track here to turn it down, make any adjustments that I might want to. For now, I'm just going to turn it down, leave the BPM at quarter note equals 120. If you need to change your tempo, you can double click this little red triangle here, or diamond, and either tap tempo using T on your keyboard or type in a new tempo. So if I wanted to go to 110, you can try that out. Push the space bar to audition it. Now at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Command and hit space bar to engage recording. As long as my synth track is record enabled, we should see it begin. Using the tempo, I'm going to play some notes. And push spacebar to stop. So far, we have this little bit of a synth line. Now, with MIDI Merge engaged, if we play again and record at that same spot, anything we do will be added to that performance. So let's give it a whirl. I'm going to hit Command, spacebar. So you can see some notes have been added to this performance. If I go to the grabber tool and I double click on that particular clip, it opens up my MIDI editor and I can see all the notes that were then added. From this view, I can still hit Command Spacebar and engage in recording and see more notes added. So let's give it one more try. All right, so you can see even more notes were added. In the MIDI editor, it sets you up so that you're ready and available to make changes to the MIDI. But what if instead I didn't want my MIDI to merge? I wanted it to actually replace my takes. That's when disengaging MIDI merge is very useful. And now instead, I can allow my MIDI to be saved in clips or playlists. What's really interesting is if you look at the clip, notice this clip says at the very top, Synth 02. And this one says Synth 01. Synth 02 and Synth 01. What happens is every time we make a pass, over here on the right, if we open up this little window at the very bottom by hitting this arrow, the clip list reveals clips that are being recorded that may or may not show up in the timeline. So if we were to go and drag these in, we'll actually see any combination of clips that we've used along the way. So you can see different variations of those. Because we used Midi Merge, they all really represent the merged clip version. So now what we can do is let's try it with Midi Merge off, starting from the beginning. And let's see what happens at the clip list here and what happens to our actual clips here. What you notice is now we have a synth clip called Synth 4. And if we scoot over, there's our Synth 4 right there. And if we were to actually pull Synth 4 out of the bin, we'll see it'd be a direct representation of what we see here. Now what we can do, if we'd like, is run another try, another pass, and let's see what happens. Now all of a sudden you see we have synth number 6. And so at any time when we're recording and we're not using Midi Merge, we're actually activating new MIDI clips off to the right. And we can engage and disengage, we can move them around, and we can actually export these clips individually. Now additionally, there's a small little menu right by the nameplate in the edit window. And if you click it and scroll to the very top, you'll notice there's something that says New or Duplicate. And these are your MIDI playlists. These playlists do exist also in audio tracks. And if I hit New, it will essentially create a new playlist and remove what we see in the timeline. So let's just say we call this Synth 2, and I hit OK. You'll notice it removes everything in the timeline. These synth clips will still exist here. And if I go back up to the top, now there's a new element down at the bottom that shows me my playlists, and I can toggle back and forth. So I can switch back and forth using them here, or I can view my individual clips here and maneuver them there. And so some very specific elements about recording in MIDI. A lot of times, if you don't like the pass that you just took, you can either go back and re-record it over top, or if you'd like to keep your playlists, you can just keep hitting New and keep creating new playlists. So as an example, if I go back to my new playlist here, I'm going to go ahead and begin recording. And now, if I want to switch over to a new playlist, I can make another new one. This one I can either just keep the name it gives me, or I can add more synth numbers here and go again. And now if I want to toggle back and forth between these, I can see I have number 2 and I have number 3. And so I can really start to build my performances based upon these. If I really like some parts that I made, I can keep them, I can copy and paste them, and again, they all exist on my clip list over here.